Okay, so let's go back to this thing of I'm overviewing my notes and seeing what catches my attention or what can I comment on. I already made the video of the commune thing. Then I have a next note the next note says money over bitches is broke mindset, and I think I'm not sure what I want to say about this. I wrote it because I don't know. I think there was some truth to it. I was thinking of Alex Hormozi and how he's successful and all that on Reach, and one of the reasons why is because of his wife, right? And all these kind of wife things, whatever, right? So it's like it appears that money over bitches is like really fucking broke mindset, right? It's like the only people who say money over bitches are like broke motherfuckers who are trying to like get their hustle game on, but who remain bitchless, right? It's like, are there people who like get distracted by women? I don't know. I have two theories. One is like a cope, and the other one is maybe something related to like black culture or something like this, where I don't know. For some reason in black culture, like the gold digger archetype seems like way more played up or something like this, or like people do get legitimately distracted by women a lot, like by having a lot of women to tend to. I don't know. I don't really understand the stereotypes a lot, but I think like someone who earnestly says money over bitches, it's because they are like buying expensive gifts for their multiple women that they want to. I don't know. I don't really get it, and I think it's mainly cope. That's like the main explanation. Then a shopping list that was automatically generated. Then yeah, I saw another podcast episode with Shelby Smith and Danny Miranda, and it was interesting, and I wanted to like I have one comment that I wanted to make directly to them. I wanted essentially at the beginning of the podcast they're talking about how they met on Twitter and all this, and I was like, that's interesting. We're actually, I guess, close in Twitter terms, right? We are like a couple of degrees of separation away from each other, but we don't know each other and we haven't ever talked or whatever, and we're not mutuals or anything, right? But we're like a couple of steps close to each other, I guess. And yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I would, this is something that I would say to her, for example, to the guest. The host is a guy called Danny, and the guest is a girl called Shelby. And yeah, it was something that I would like. For example, I was thinking of like DMing her because I liked the podcast, and I'm going to write a comment later on the video. But yeah, I also wanted for her to like read it. So since the video is like 3 years old and it's like at the beginning of this guy's channel, he has 400 videos and this is like the 10th, right? So yeah, so she reads, she knows that I've watched it, right? And yeah, that was like the first comment I wanted to like comment on kind of the nature of these kind of online connections and how we're only a couple of degrees of separation, and that's interesting, I guess. I don't know how that's interesting to me, or like call that out in the intro of my DM to her or something like this, right? Then the next thing was more like something that belongs in the comment of a YouTube video, right? Less than something that I would say directly to her, right? And it was like in the video she talks about how she okay, I'm going to cut this as a clip, so I'm going to restart again. Okay, the video is about customer service, so yeah, I'm going to say something like thoughts on customer service. So something that's really common is people saying stuff like, in everyone should work customer service, right? And I was thinking about this because of this part of this podcast. Okay, so some small context because of the clip. They're talking kind of about parenting advice, and she wrote kind of a parenting advice blog without her having been a parent yet. Now she is, but when she made the video, the podcast, the interview, she wasn't. But yeah, let's play the clip.
Not having had a child, but then again, it's like I've worked in customer service before, and I always said, hey, it's really easy to empathize with the customer because I've also been a customer before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the lens that I'm looking at this through. And with
Yeah, they're talking about how you should teach kids to be respectful and how you should like treat kids like it's like assume they're going to act like kids but treat them like adults, right? And people usually do the opposite, like they assume they are going to act like adults but treat them like kids, right? And yeah, she's kind of like saying, like talking about how this is something she thinks about. So I thought of this bit, and then I thought something like, First, I thought this. I thought, okay, if you're an easy customer, you don't need to work customer service, right? Because yes, she talks about how now, since her experience in customer service, she has learned, like she's learned how to empathize with a customer because of her experience in customer service, right? And I think that, well, so if you're an easy customer, right, it's like you wouldn't necessarily empathize with with the hard customers. So you shouldn't need to work customer service, right? But then I thought, actually, maybe you still would benefit from customer service because I think easy customers sometimes are too easy customers. Like, for example, I would count myself as a maybe too easy of a customer, right? Like the kind of someone brings you like the wrong dish and you're like, I'll take it, right? Because you don't want to like inconvenience people and because I don't want to like cause trouble or whatever, right? And maybe it's like if I had worked customer service, right? If I worked as a waiter and I saw like the kind of shit that people put you through versus someone who legitimately got the wrong dish and is like, sorry, I got the wrong dish. Could you change it for the actual dish that I ordered? And then you would be like, oh, fuck it, sorry, of course, right? Because that's like your fucking job. And it's like, yeah, they're making you go to the kitchen, but because like there was an issue, right? And that's like the job, solving these kind of issues, right? It's like, maybe easy customers should work customer service too. And yeah, that's essentially what I wanted to say for this video. Okay, so that was another video. Mira, look, make it el video de en medio. I made the video. And yeah, then the next thing I wanted to say on Shelby's podcast, on this episode of Shelby's podcast, was that, yeah, I saw her enthusiasm after the tweet. That thing I said before of the call a kid something. Yeah, this part. Let's play it actually. Let's see if it's
Yeah, I think of I don't know if you quoted this in the article or just came across this, but it's like we should treat children, or we treat children as, I have no idea the quote.
No, I know what you're saying.
You know the
I know
quote that I
saying.
came across?
This was a great quote that like made it on Twitter in the last couple days. Like,
yes, and now I can't pull it up.
We treat kids like we treat kids like kids, but expect them to act like adults. We should really treat them like adults and expect them to act like kids.
Thank you for coming to the rescue there. Oh my god, that would have killed me not being able to remember that. Thank you so much.
It was so good. I know. I
so true, right?
Like, yes, exactly. I mean, and I've seen people doing this. I've seen people parenting their kids in such a way that, you know, they talk to their kid as an adult, you know, just as they would talk to a friend, a business partner, a colleague, someone who they respect. You don't have to like literally talk to them like they're babies or.
Yeah, and yeah, I liked her enthusiasm when she said like, yes, exactly, something like this, right? And yeah, I liked that, and I thought, that's what I want to see more of, right, in the world, and yeah, just in general, right? Like people who come alive. Visa has this tweet of this. My general answer is to do whatever makes your heart sing. The world needs people who have come alive, who have shining eyes, whose presence makes everyone else around them want to do their best work. People try too hard to fit into other people's models of excellence, neglect theirs, right? And yeah, I think that's kind of the spirit I see in this, in her, in this clip, right, in this moment, and also kind of in Danny's view, right? I think Danny is kind of this enabler of people who come alive, right? I think I want to watch more of his stuff after listening to this video, which it's like video number 10. It has 80 views, right? 2021, and now he has like 15,000 subscribers. He's like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I would say made it, but yeah, he for sure has had some good guests like Alex Hormozi, who I saw a lot. Maybe I'll watch this one next, right? It's like he really gets to know. Yeah, he really makes good research in this, and then he also has a course about interviewing. That's kind of crazy. Oh yeah, he also has a Gary Vaynerchuk interview. I saw it here, and that was interesting to me. And yeah, I do think that Danny is like this kind of person who makes other people come alive, which is nice. And yeah, I liked how she came alive in here, right? And also, yeah, it made me want to DM Danny to see if he has a very. I don't think they recorded a video to the podcast here, but yeah, if they have it, I would. Yeah, for example, I wanted to DM him to make this video clip, or to expand on this. I wanted the video clip, right? I don't know. Oh yeah, and I have it here. I made me want to DM Danny to see if he can upload the video selfishly, because I wanted to see it, right? But also selflessly business case. Like I've seen, for example, Paul Millard. Let's see. I don't remember the clip. Yeah, actually, it's in his podcast here, right? His last episode, this is the ultimate episode, this is like Spotify's platform, 27th of December, and yeah, see, he's been uploading these kind of replay things. And I think this is like, yeah, re-uploading his old shit to like keep upload, yeah. And I thought that was like fucking clever stuff, right? And I was like, actually, I would love if he did that with this Shelby Smith episode, especially if he has video, right? Then it's like re-uploading it again. Now in a time when he has like more audience as a way to kind of like give back, I guess, to Shelby or something like this, right? To like bring her conversation to light now, or maybe to like as a kind of aliciente. I'm not sure if it translates well. To like touch base again and to like make a round 2. Now she has a kid, or maybe she doesn't have as much time or whatever. But like, yeah, to kind of do this development, like, do this follow-up episode with her or something like this. I thought it was interesting. And yeah, I think it's also good for business, I guess, to start introducing this kind of, hey, I'm uploading some old shit because many of you haven't seen it, giving it that extra twist of giving a little bit more of value by making it the video form. So it's like, oh, this is something I couldn't have done earlier, but I can now, so I'm going to do it. But I'm, giving a little bit more context that wasn't there before thanks to the video, removing a little bit of work on my part, but also kind of, setting kind of this kind of precedent of, I can take a couple of weeks off sometimes. I can do more like older stuff. I can revisit my old stuff. while not having to be, but still keep this schedule going and keep people entertained or something like this, right? It's like providing value while taking a step back. I thought it was a good idea to do that. Not only because I want to see the video, which I do, and that would be probably the main reason for me to suggest it, but it also has all those side effects that I thought of. So then let's go back to the hidden screen and let's see, I have these podcasts for this. Then I have, I think a lot of Alex Hormozi because of the way he talks, right? He talks in a way that is really, I don't know, I wouldn't say jarring, but he seems like unempathetic to me a lot of the time, right? And I'm not sure if there's a clip of him, but in this note that I have, it basically says something like, free business education for everyone. What are the implications of that? Individualization of society. That's the title of the note. And then, society where economics is mandatory, but it tells you both sides as a frame. It tells you who is the frame maker as well, political parties. Right? I think that's something that I would aspire to, rather than his narrow view, like as a consensus type thing. I think that's better than his take on it, which is his making free business education available for everyone or something like this, which is his podcast or something like, because it's free, right? And I assume it's good, but just because it's good and free doesn't mean it's everything, right? And because it's free, he also makes it good, I guess, but he probably so why don't you cover this and this? I'm not sure if he would say, because I don't care, or because it's free, fuck it, don't be ungrateful or something like this, right? I'm not sure what is this. And I think that I would like to see him acknowledge like his values and all this explicitly in what are the implications of making my free business education available for everyone? Like, what's his end goal result for the world? Like, how does he see the world after his free business education has reached everyone, right? Because that's, I assume, the goal, which is for business education in his way to reach everyone, every person in the world. And what are so I'm asking, okay, so what are your expected consequences, and like what are not the expected ones but the ideal ones in your head, right? So for example, he expects that most people are not going to pay attention, because that's like how the nature of free shit goes. It's like if you give away something and 10 billion people, assuming the world has 10 billion, the 10 billion people see it, it's like 9 billion are not going to give a fuck. 1 billion are going to like consume it, I guess, or something. It's like assuming 10 billion consume it. This is assuming consumption, right? It's like, well, let's say I assume impressions. It gets 10 billion impressions. Everyone in the world sees it. And some people see it a couple times, I guess. Let's see. Then there are people who see it. Yeah, there are 10 billion people see it. 1 billion, I don't know, 10 to 1 impressions ratio is probably insane. So it's maybe like 100 million people consume it, right? That's still a lot, I think. But like, yeah, if 10 billion see the impression and 100 million consume it, like they fully read his book, right? I think that's fucking insane, I guess. I wonder what the Harry Potter statistics are like. Is there someone who has not heard of Harry Potter, right? Several times, right? Still. Okay, let's assume everyone sees it several times. Like 10 people, everyone sees it 10 times. So like 10 times 10 billion, 100 billion. 100 billion impressions, 1 billion 1 billion people consume it. Then, out of 1 billion people who consume it, probably another 90%, so like 900 million people, it's like the information doesn't hit in the right time or whatever. So it's like 100 million people do something. And he probably assumed that because his advice is good and 100 people do something, it's like 100 million businesses are built, right? So it's like the 900 million people and the who know about it are like in the loop of what's happening, and then there are some people who got the impression but were not interested in the first place on it. So those are the people who are like subjects to the frame, right? So it's like, how is this frame treating those subjects? How is the frame treating those in the loop, etc., right? And the frame is like capitalism or whatever, I guess, right? And there are probably some people who consume it and understand it and this and critique it, right? What do those people do? That's like what I would want Alex to, I guess, address. Not, I don't know, to tell me. I don't even want it to address it as in a, let it be known that my free business education for everyone, blah, blah, blah. No, I just want personally to know what he has to say. And yeah, my kind of counterbalance to this would be, given that people like Alex Hormozi, who are really effective at giving free business education for everyone, are pushing their frame. It's like the people who are against the frame and the people who are pro that frame should get together and make some kind of actual free business education available for everyone. I'm assuming like in the state of Spain, for example, in my country, to what would that subject have to cover, right? And in my opinion, it's like, this is like very, how do you say it? Overview of the shit, right? It's not, important or not important, but it's not like covering the nitty-gritty or whatever. I'm not saying you have to cover the Austrian school, you have to cover Marxism. I'm not saying this, right? I'm saying like overview. Overview, it should tell you both sides. Like, I said both sides because I kind of paint this picture where there are two. Maybe there are more, I don't know. But yeah, I would like to see these things, right? To see something where something like the free business education for everyone is included, or kind of, yeah, not maybe included fully, but like at least grasped, right? Where you can grasp what the free business education for everyone is, and when you can grasp what the thing that goes against free business education for everyone is, or like what the 2 or 3 things, or like what the combination of a couple of this and a couple of this is, right? Where you can get to grasp some of those things, and it also tells you who has grasped the stuff and put it together, right? It tells you, okay, so in this legislature, the Partido Popular, for example, we want people to know about business, right? In the past, people did not want you to know about business, or they did not want to know you about business for these reasons, right? And you can be like, oh, okay, I kind of get why. I get what's happening, right? I think that would be beneficial, right? That's like how I would make it, at least. Then I have something about the rule of 100, because Alex Hormozi talks about this rule of 100, right? Which is like, if you don't want to do something, like he's talking about in this cold outreach method of client acquisition, right? And he's like, if your channel is Instagram DMs, send 100 DMs per day during for 30 days or 100 days or something like this. Yeah, the rule of 100. So it's like do 10,000 reach outs. So 100 DMs per day during 100 days, like 3 months and change, right? Cold calls like that. Content 100 minutes per day per content of during 100 days, something like this, right? And yeah, I said I can't follow the rule of 100. It's not that. It feels better to not provide negative value continuously, right? So it's like, I think that in the rule of 100, for example, cold calling, cold DMing people, to me, it's not like it's free if you don't consider social cost of interrupting someone and annoying someone, right? So it's like either you have to adopt this worldview of they are in the wrong for getting offended, which I think is his answer, right? I think his answer is like he doesn't consider inbound bad, right? So I would assume like what his phone number is like, right? It's like if someone gets his phone, is he careful of phone number, of giving his phone number because of lists, right? I'm going to try to write it. Phone number. Are you careful with giving out your phone number after your experience buying cold calling lists from brokers? And I say this because in order for you to assume rule of 100 is okay, in the cold call / DM way, you have to assume a framework where there is no negative social cost from doing it / you are not actively harming someone by offering, right? It's like I think in his frame, this is not a problem because of the quality of his offer, right? Because his offer is so good that you are dumb if you resist his offer, right? He is almost giving you a favor, but by offering to sell you some shit, right? And if your offer, therefore your product, is not that level of good, then maybe what I say would apply. I think that's kind of the answer he would give me. I think that's my intuition on that. Then, next thing on my notes. Missing things from my rich life. Okay, so I made this, my dream life or whatever. Okay, so video here. Dream life part 1 probably. No. Oh, no. Okay, this video is not even up yet. But yeah, it will be up by the time... Yeah, okay, I'm going to click gestionar videos. Okay, so yeah, you will see that this video is not up yet, but it will be called something like my rich life or something, yes. And yeah, this video is essentially talking about Ramit Sethi, and yeah, he's kind of this financial advisor type person. Well, not financial advisor probably, but like this kind of internet person that talks about money, who has this book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich or something. And yeah, I'm kind of following the blueprint of that video in my video. Yeah, he teaches a blueprint and I follow it, right? He teaches me how to be rich, I follow. I'm waiting, but yeah, but I will get there, right? And yeah, I did that video and I afterwards watched it, but I haven't watched it yet. I don't know, but I remembered what I've missed from my video. And yeah, because I wrote the script beforehand, right? So yeah, from that video I'm missing, which I will link around here. I missed in the freedom part. Yeah, about yeah. Okay, how deep in the video are we? 30 minutes. Okay, acceptable. I wrote dressing how I want, not strictly money dependent, but one part of it is, and money is up in the chain in the other reasons. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into this. There are people who know more about this and who know less, but essentially, yeah, there are like some freedom related aspects of this, no, not freedom, some money related aspects in how I dress myself, and money is one of them. There are others that are not necessarily money related, not are money dependent. Not all of them are money related, but some of them are pretty money adjacent. Then, and yeah, maybe I will make one video about this soon. Not soon, but maybe I will one day make a more complete video about this. And don't think so though. Then the next one, in experiences, I missed concerts, Taylor Swift, etc. Right? That shit's expensive, especially in like broker sites, SeatGeek, that type of shit. And I would like to get concerts for the experience. And then I also put status below, VIP backstage tickets at the places I want to go to, right? I think that's not only status, and I would say probably mainly the experience. I would love to have that experience of like, yeah, if I had unlimited money, I would do that, right? Backstage treatment everywhere, look behind the scenes. Yeah, that's something that is also not status. And yeah, I mentioned this in the cruise thing, but I think I would like this. Yeah, essentially, I would do this thing that Jose Elias does, which is okay. He's this almost billionaire from Spain, I think, and yeah, he has. Yeah, see, he has this. He owns this chain of supermarkets, right? And it's like, how is this supermarket chain from the inside? And I would do that. All right. Yeah, so I mentioned already the behind the scenes thing. And yeah, I think this is the stuff I like to think about a lot. And I will probably repeatedly talk about this in the coming days because I don't think I have anything else in my mind right now. So I would like to at least flesh these things out to see and do these bit-sized things like I have done in this video. But yeah, let's start, for example, with this thing. I saw this tweet the other day. If money was no object, like you had 100 billion net worth, what would you be doing? And yeah, with the Ramit exercise, I changed a little bit. Okay, fuck it. Let's do this in a more clippable manner. Okay. What would I do if I had 100 billion net worth? Okay, so I saw this tweet the other day. If money was no object, like you had $100 billion net worth, what would you be doing? And this is my answer, my tweet long answer, and I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on that. I have talked about this a lot in these videos. In this, me going over what I actually want, me going over what I want part 2, in this recent Dream Life part 1 video, and in this video yet to be titled about my rich life, I think. That's the part 1. And I have also talked about it in the fuller video that I'm releasing, part of this. But yeah, essentially, going over this, my first step probably would be to make a video production company to film the rest of the stuff that I'm going to do. That would be my first thing. I would do the first couple of hires, and I would have to develop, what do I think I would hire people for? I think I would hire someone to film me, right? A videographer. I have one friend in mind, but I'm not sure if I would pick him because first of all, he's already kind of busy. And second of all, I don't like his Nazi tendencies. Then I would get the initial equipment, probably Sony cameras, probably a gimbal. Not sure if Alpha 7Ss, like 7.3S, or I think one of those for sure. And then maybe one of like the same one as this one because it's cheap, a couple of like 2 or 3 more of these, and like a couple of laptops to make a podcast, like one of these things. I forgot how they're called. Audio interfaces, a couple of mic, a bigger one than this with more inputs, maybe 4 inputs. Yeah. These kind of things, kind of assemble them somewhere, make them portable, maybe think of a couple of ideas, right? Maybe I will do this. I will actually do this. Then, and those to record the next steps. Then, the next step. Oh yeah, actually, well, fuck it. Yeah, see, this. I think this is where my brother would be like, make it more visually interesting or something. And I'm like, I guess I could have showed you what I mean. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. Yeah, these are the Sony Alpha 7.3S. Full frame. I like them. Why? Full frame, aka more light into the sensor, better quality image. Sony S series. Well, that's the Sony 7 series part. That's the full frame. S series, especially made for video. That means that they have really good low light capability. I love that. Then, what kind of lenses? I don't know. That's like the thing that I would have to research the most. Probably something. Yeah, I'm thinking that the equipment needs to be for automotive, something like this. Then what else did I say? Stabilization. Sony Alpha 7.3S stabilization. Let's see. Oh, gimbal. Yeah, this one same. Fuck it. If this works, the Crane M2S, I would research and get this one. Or maybe this one, the Ronin SC. Then, audio interface. This one is too small. But yeah, I have a similar one right now. I would get one with 4. Possibly with 4 inputs. Something like this. And maybe a mix table. I don't know. Audio interface mixer. Maybe one of these or one of these. I don't know. If you have to connect the one to the two, maybe I would get one that has both or something like this. I would maybe read this article. I don't know. Mics, probably the classic Shure SM, the first one. I have this SM7A, but this one is an SM7A, but that's like for guitar and all this. I would get this one because it's the one everyone uses. $400. I would do like $1,600 all in mics. Then, what else did I say? I didn't say this, but I would get drones. I would go to the DJI page, and probably the Mavics. What? Mavic 3 Pro. Oh fuck, that's expensive. I think the Air ones. Not because they're less expensive, but because they're smaller. I would like to get this one, the Air 3. It's smaller. Not because it's cheaper, but because it's smaller. Because the Mavic it's too big, probably. I don't know. I would research it, and probably a small one as well. Yeah. First, maybe I would first start small. Maybe physically small, so I can travel with it faster. Then Then the next step I have is chartering private jet travel with real estate as an excuse. Then I would probably, instead of doing my next steps in my bucket list, I would do some kind of real estate type shit, but I would already start recording this, right? I would start like researching the process of, hey, I'm interested in buying this property. Can I tour? And I would only and I would only go tour the yeses that I have that agree to my conditions, which is I will bring my team to record it. Are you cool with that or something like this? I would go with that approach. Then, car museum project. Oh yeah, and I would, not sure if all the time charter and private jet. I would do that whenever it's possible, and if it's not possible, I would just fly commercial, always in the highest classes possible, obviously. If I'm rich as fuck. Then, car museum project, which is that I would start to get these things going, right? My small, maintainable, quirky collection of cars, and I have a tab open of this here. You can see I would get this car, for example, and or I wanted to set up the video production in the beginning because I would record all of this process of building the museum, right? And I would explain, like, in the meantime, why I care so much about these things, right? And now I have to watch this back, and I have to watch this, compare it to my dream life video, compare it to my Ramit Sethi's video of my rich life. I have to like mesh all of these three things together to see what they tell me, right? And I will probably have to do some numbers, right? Because the threshold is probably not that high. And the next step to this that I haven't talked about yet is that I would probably just keep making random videos that I find funny, right? For example, this panera bread video that I talked earlier about. I tweeted about this before and I found it interesting. Okay, fuck. I'm going to take less time if I just look it up. No, this. Would someone sponsor me making a YouTube video of me flying to the United States to grab a Panera Death Lemonade? Right? I would make that, but no. It's like I flew to the United States just to grab a Death Lemonade. I think it's funnier. The concept is funnier if someone pays for it for me. Right? If I'm poor, right? If I'm broke like I am right now, and someone actually agrees to do it, that's like epitome of funny, which I value. But especially, well, I'm not sure. Especially if it's just flying there and going back without even seeing anything else of New York. That would be really funny. But and if I were fucking rich, maybe I would just do it like that, right? I would make a TikTok about it, but I'm not sure if I wanted to make that kind of content in the flex sense, right? I wouldn't, if I had 100 billion bucks, I'm not sure if I would flex that hard, right? Because people, I'm not sure if it will be well received, and it's not the kind of content that I want to make, as in I don't want to cause kind of pain. Like, I don't mind causing a little bit of pain if someone is like, oh, they could have donated that to a charity. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm willing to take that bit of backlash. But yeah, but if it's just flying private to grab a thing, one odd thing of those, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I would switch up the content, but I would try to keep making these ideas, right? The next steps would be, like, aside from my car collection and all this, like to do these ideas as well. Okay, I think the rich life things is done. Then another thing I wanted to talk about was, I have a note. Well, I didn't want to talk about it. I just have a note about it, and it's like frustration with my hair. After washing it the next day, it's frizzy. If you got any solutions, tell me. Then the next note I have is visualizing, joking about the outcomes you want matrix. Worked, not worked, told about it, didn't tell about it. Alex Hormozi bit on the Graham podcast about trauma and just talking the actions, right? Yeah, this is too long of a bit to play here, but yeah. I'm going to play right where I am, but still.
Doesn't matter. It's okay. Just earlier, like, I have a hard time trusting people because of this reason that I'm making up right now. Okay, cool. Or something happened. Okay. Moving on. Like, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like, creating the label that you are now this way because is the problem, not the thing. Yep. That's the problem, is the label that people ascribe to whatever circumstance. Like, and you can, the more you'll start to note it, like, the more attuned to this you get, the more you see it all the time. People are like, I'm the type of person who, I am right? I'm a neat freak. Okay. So you have this label you've ascribed to yourself. Now, does that serve you in some way? And like in the beginning of every relationship, like you're single now, you're dating, right? So girls, like, or you'll probably come in and be like, I'm the type of person who does this, this, and this, and I am this way. Like, you just you're like, here are all my labels. But like,
yeah. So he talks about this, right? And it got me to think about this concept of joke about the outcomes you want that Visa talks about. Right? He has this ongoing thread about joking about the outcomes you want. Bien, because they come true. Yeah, there are like a lot of examples of this. And so to an extent, I believe in this joke of the outcomes you want. It's like, in this case, the wording would be something like, don't label yourself. It's like, don't self-sabotage yourself by using some random labels, right? But on the other side, I think that he goes like, he straight up says like, trauma isn't real, right? And I'm like, bruh, I don't know, right? I wouldn't go that far. And yeah, this is the comment I wrote. I think Alex ignores causal change regarding other people's trauma, etc., because it's just convenient for him. Not saying it's hypocritical of him for him to do it, because he seems to take that approach with his own life as well, to the extent that it benefits him, but just because he can overcome traumatic events in an easier way than other people, with a platitude like, things happen, and you can know what caused what. It's like, yeah, I would say something like, doesn't mean that everyone can do it like him. I think he extrapolates this capacity when the concept of trauma itself is probably something, when the actual concept of trauma itself is something related to that ability to overcome stuff. Something related to the extent to which the event is overcomable. Yeah, something like this. I'd like to hear him talk about this view of accelerated learning and narrative in other contexts. Yeah, the accelerated learning part makes sense. He talks about how trauma is just accelerated learning. And I'm like, I mean, all right. But he seems to think that accelerating learning implies that there can be an equal, straightforward accelerated on learning. He says something like, you can say things happen and move on. When it feels like 75% of the point of defining trauma is that you observe that people don't move on when you say something evident, like things happen to someone, and trying to get them to move on. Like, yeah, the causal chain isn't 100% clear, right? But sometimes an accelerated learning does not have an equally accelerated unlearning, and there's shit to untangle before moving on. I don't know, seems obvious to me. Maybe he just doesn't think it's something that concerns his mission or whatever, right? If he's talking about business education free business education for everyone or whatever, it's like maybe he just is like, okay, if you can't do that, whether it's because of self-belief or because of actual real reasons, then my advice doesn't apply to you or something like this. It's like you can just you can just ignore what I have to say, right? I think some of the controversial things that he talks about have a point, and I do think that there's like a 25% of people who take refuge in made-up trauma, or maybe there's issues with psychology and therapy, like maybe people are using therapy-type language to talk about shit that does not deserve that kind of language, right? And its massification, I don't know. That's an interesting topic for sure, and I'm sure he's not wrong in believing that there are some traumatic events that are exaggerated, that there is a self-inflicted element to it that can be solved by saying things happen, move on, right? Yeah, there is probably something to him, and he talks about like a $15 million loss or something, but like just, yeah, and there are probably some people for whom that's tough, I don't know. Same with the 14-year-old girl getting married to a 30-year-old man example. He talks about this example. It's interesting, but I think to paint the whole picture using that example, you need to show the 4 squares in the 2x2 matrix of accepted, doesn't accept it, all time present. I think his point, yeah, because he says something like, yeah, before, if a 14-year-old girl gets married to an old man, she doesn't get traumatized, right? Like her internal experience is not of trauma, and it's like, I am just doing my duty as a young aristocrat girl, I guess, like doing her duty to her family, right? And right now, if a 14-year-old girl gets whatever, society tells her that she has to feel bad because it's traumatic, right? And I'm like, all right, I guess, and there is something to it, but this trauma isn't real because before she could accept it and she wouldn't feel any traumatic reactions undergoing the same action. It's all in her head, in the narrative, which, I mean, I think I get the gist of it, and it is an interesting thing to think about, like how context around you changes your internal experience. I think it's an interesting thing to think about, especially if you can hack it like him for business success, right? But the problem is that is what the narrative itself is, right? If the narrative, like, there are two sides to that coin, right? The narrative that makes the 14-year-old marrying the 30-year-old feel okay, right? The thing, the context that tells her, I am doing my duty for my family. That context is the same context that makes the 14-year-old who cries, begs her mom and dad not to send her to the random 30-year-old, have things happen to her, right? Have bad things happen to her. Yeah, you cannot separate, one instance of a random example felt okay, so trauma isn't real, from the other side of the coin in the random made-up past example, right? Yeah, maybe she wasn't traumatized because but because she was under forces that removed agency for her, or that because her environment was like built in such a way that she did not have agency or whatever, right? So yeah, maybe that girl was not traumatized, but in that particular narrative context, etc., you only get her as not traumatized at the expense of like doubly traumatizing the other girl, who from our point of view now was in the right to be traumatized, but in her own lived experience, right, she got called a bad daughter and someone who does not do her duty in her family, plus she was sent off to some fucking rando and fucking raped, probably, right? Yeah, I used that example because it's the example he used, and I still think his point is interesting and that there is infinite gray between those examples, and that's what comes with thoughts experiments, right? They're made up. So yeah, for example, there's probably an interesting exploration to be made of like, let's put the age of the girl at 18, right? Is it okay for you to be now in this society like to want or maybe keeping the age is the same? If you are there, it probably exists. This person probably exists, right? Someone who is 14 and wants to get sent off to some fucking random 40-year-old, 30-year-old, right? There is probably someone who feels that right now, right? So is that bad? Like there is probably like this exploration to be done, right? Or why is she feeling this way, right? I don't know. I'm not a sociologist, psychologist, or whatever, right? Is she sick, right? Because right now society will deem her like, whoa, she's like she's sick in the head, or like she has a strange fetish or something, right? But or she cannot indulge in her desire because she would be risking her situation. I don't know. I'm not sure what the explanation is, but the explanation of, right, the girl who does actually want it, or that does feel their want now, is being shaped by her surroundings as well, right? There is a conversation for this to be had. Or maybe, what if the girl who hated it then liked it, right? Is she, whatever, under patriarchy? Is she getting used to circumstances because that's how humans are, right? There are probably like multiple perspectives on this, and that discussion is interesting, I guess. But yeah, the things happen doctrine or whatever is like, I don't know, it doesn't swim in the waters as much as I'd like to, and it just seems like a fucking platitude that doesn't make any sense. Right? That doesn't make any sense, it makes sense, but that doesn't address anything, right? Doesn't address anything that happened. So if it's like, if causality only applies in business, it's like, why do you focus? It's like you like business or whatever, but it's like, why do you extrapolate? Not extrapolate, but it's like, why do you, in your ignorance of the rest of the world, why do you, or the things that you know, claim that they work that way and whatever, but of the things that you don't know, it's like invalidate their claims, right? It's like their claims are, it's like you can doubt their claims or whatever, but you have to base it on something. It's like in the same way that you are basing your shit or whatever. I don't know. It's like he also is not very hypocritical, and he would be like, his living attitude would be like, yeah, but I don't care. Or it's like, he would be like, oh yeah, you're right, right? Or something like this, right? He would just ignore it. But still. And then, yeah, I know his point is always business, and I assume that his mission of making business education available for everyone, and that his blueprints has actions, etc. And I respect and admire him and his mission. And that to him there's always like, okay, I hear you, but now what? But the thing is that the answer to the, okay, you just said that you can do X or Y because you're disadvantaged and you won't be able to be rich, now what? Question means that people will tax the fat out of you, right? If someone disabled, right? It's like, this is my way of like making it important to him. It's like, okay, you don't care about social issues or whatever, or politics or whatever. I get it, but it will come back to bite you when you have to pay more taxes because of it. It is like, you have to think about it. You have to position yourself. It's like not you don't have to. He doesn't have to do anything, but it's like your free market tactics don't work as well in Venezuela, right? Actually, they probably do work as well in like this black market type of economy, right? But they work in this black market type environment. It's like, do you want that kind of black market type shit? I don't know. It's like if the country gets run by a dictatorship or whatever, would he be like, things happen. It's like if they seize all his property and it becomes collectivized, does he care? Or would he be like, things happen, right? It's like, what is the things, like what are his limits for saying things happen? And yeah, maybe I haven't explained myself well, but yeah, I think you'll get the gist that these things are all interlinked. If you believe trauma is real and you don't want to help out people who have not real trauma, you're going to have to fight them someday when the consequences of those not real for you but real for them traumas come to bite you, right? That's like my intuition. It's like eventually these things are going to fire back. You can't, oh, you're right your way into everything. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, and my note says, visualizing, joking about the outcomes you want matrix worked, not worked, told about it, didn't tell about it. Alex hormozi bit on the Graham podcast about trauma and just taking the actions, right? I think I mentioned a couple of matrices there, so I'm going to just open up Paint and draw them. Okay, so this is the let me think. Yeah, he talks about, in this episode, he talks about something, about trauma and taking actions, and about how he doesn't believe in visualizing or something like this. What the fuck?
Trying to give advice on. And so it's like when people talk about like, energy and manifesting and, psychology and affirmations and all these things, it's like, even the statement, like, have you heard of be, do, have? Have you heard that? It's like a pretty big in like the personal development stuff. It's like, be the certain way so you do the things to get what you want or have the thing, right? And you have to be the person first, then you can, to do the things to have the thing, right? That's like a big, everyone's like, be, do, have. I think it's complete bullshit because
so he talks about how this manifesting shit is bullshit or whatever. Yeah, and I probably kind of agree, but I still do it anyways, just in case. But yeah, and I think he would say something like, yeah, if you are doing these things or counting on these things, it's because you are not actually working, which are the actual things that will get you the result or something, right? So it's like, it's counterproductive. I think that's what he would say, I guess. And probably he's right. But yeah, I thought of this matrix, and it's like, this is kind of the joke about the outcomes you want matrix, right? So here I have something that I called worked and not worked axis. So this is the axis of the things, this is the quadrant of the things that work and that people told you about it, right? Or that you joked about it, right? This kind of axis, right? So if you joke about the outcomes you want and you get them, you end up here. If you don't joke about the outcomes you want but you get them, you end up here. If you don't joke about the outcomes you want and get them, and if you joke about the outcomes you want but you don't get them, you end up here. And if you joke about the outcomes you want and you don't get them, you end up here, right? So it's like, you can, for example, you can joke about your mom not dying, but she will die eventually, right? Unless you invent some kind of not dying thing, right? So it's like your mom dying, it's here, right? Always. She's always going to die. Whether you joke about it or not. Then I think that there are successful examples of both things here, right? Success exists here. You can get success and not joke about it. There are probably, I think in Spain and stuff like that, it's pretty common for people not to flex, right? For successful people to be like in their own bubbles and not to like brag about it or whatever, right? And there, I think in the States it's a bit different, the culture. And there are people who will say that they got here by visualizing or something like this and by joking about the outcomes they wanted, blah, blah, blah. But because these people are not telling you, right? But they are there. And these people, you never find out because it didn't work, right? So it's like you don't hear how they joked about the outcomes they wanted and got them because they didn't get them. So you don't get to hear the part of them joking about the outcomes you want, right? And yeah, I think there are people who fake it till they make it, right? Who do apply this be, do, get framework or whatever, right? I think he would argue that they actually did or something like this, but yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I wanted to go with this. Yeah, I'm tired of reviewing my own notes. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload this. Bye.